Welcome to the Sacred Rebels podcast. This is your host, Tay.
And co-host Amy.
We're the podcast that fearlessly dives into the depths of holistic healing. Join us as we empower you to embrace your divine journey, confront sexual trauma, conquer addictions, and rise with confidence with life after trauma. It's time to unlock the sacred rebel within and enter a transformative path to self-discovery and healing.
We are here to trigger you. By shattering stigmas and questioning societal norms, join us as we explore diverse stories of men and women showcasing that there's not one way to heal and the importance of community. Together, we will navigate the evolving human experience, embracing paths to growth and understanding. Let's heal, baby!
Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Sacred Rebels. We're so excited. We have Ashley Carver here tonight. She is a spiritual somatic embodiment guide, and she is tuning in all the way from Arizona, and we're so excited to hear from her. So we're gonna start off with our big deep breath.
One hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. Really expel all the energy out. And then big inhale through the nose. Open the heart, open the mind, connect into the space. And then exhale, just let it go, surrender and soften into the message, into the moment.
So Ashley pulled our card. I don't know what deck she has, but I'm excited.
Yeah, thank you for that big deep breath. That was slightly life-changing. This is the deck that I use. It's the Sacred Destiny Oracle.
Love it.
By Denise
love
Lynn.
that
And
one.
I know.
Like, wait, I'm going to be ordering that one next.
it's so good. It's one of my favorites. And I pulled this card that's called Pleasure. I don't know if you can see that.
I love that. Is that a deer?
It's a deer, yeah, in this like beautiful garden landscape with the moon.
I was just
shining
picturing
in the
Cole in
background.
that breathwork session, and he's my deer totem.
I know.
Oh, is that your child?
No, my best friend who passed away.
Oh,
But
I'm
he
sorry.
comes to me in the form of a deer. It's crazy.
That's beautiful. Here he is.
Wow, I just got chills.
Well,
Cool.
was it during the sound? Because the sound, like,
Yeah.
anytime, like, sound and vibration, because I have a big gong, I have, like, a 6-foot gong, and I play the sound bowls after breath work, and
Yeah.
sound breaks the veil. So you're able to, if you have the ability to, like, tune into spirit, you can more when you play sound.
So cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Sound magical.
Sound is magical.
So, do you want me to read the?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So, pleasure, luscious meadow. Meadows are usually open, sunny places where flora and fauna thrive and flourish. They are havens, as the trees surrounding the meadow offer protection and shade for the grassy area. Traditionally, they are associated with openness, gentle calm, and relaxation. They are places where the weary traveler can stop and rest to renew his spirit. A meadow is a place where people as well as animals gather to enjoy the simple pleasures of life. The sacred landscape wants you to know to savor your life, each and every part of it. Take pleasure in slowing down and experiencing each of your senses. Taste your food with full gusto. Inhale the scents of the world around you. Enjoy the colors and textures of your life. This is truly a stop and smell the roses card. Embrace your sensuality. Move in a languid way. Let pleasure be your password into every intimate part of your life. Allow your life to be less about being productive and more about enjoying each moment with verve. And a radiant energy will flow through you in all directions of your life.
I needed that message so bad.
Stop and smell the roses.
Literally.
Yeah.
Like today,
Especially-
I was outside with my kids, and I kept thinking about the running list of chores I had to do inside. And then I was like, no, like nothing else matters except this moment right here. Like, stop. You don't need to go inside and finish that sink full of dishes. Like, stop. You don't need to go do the laundry. Just be. Like, just be.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then you had your big relaxation breathwork ceremony. So
I know.
kind of just dropped in as you needed to. That's beautiful.
I know. I love that. Yeah, so I just can't wait to hear about you and how you got into this work. What kind of guided you here? Can you give us a little bit of background info and, how you came into holistic healing?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for having me as well. I really appreciate
Yeah.
sharing space with you, beautiful energies. But yeah, my background is a little bit convoluted, but I'll try to make it concise. I started out my adult career path in birth work. So I was a doula first and then a midwife.
Love that.
So I did all of the training for midwifery. I had an apprenticeship for home birth midwifery for like 3 years. And then when I started my practice, I had about 6 months of my own practice. And then I had 3 babies that passed right in a row within a month of each other.
Wow.
And I always, when I have signs in threes, I always know that it's my cue to kind of like take a big pause and evaluate what's going on. And also, it was just really hard for me in my, like, on a nervous system level to be able to hold space for this like beautiful, momentous rite of passage of birth with all of this other stuff in my nervous system. So I took a big break, and then I kind of worked on healing myself, and it became clear over time that I was supposed to be a midwife for that period of time for those particular babies. And then my path was pivoting into a new, different sort of midwifery. It's like a soul level midwifery for adults instead of for babies. So I had done like so much healing with beautiful guides and teachers in that time period and beforehand. And then I kind of dove into this training program for somatic embodiment, like trauma informed somatic embodiment healing. And I just recently started offering that. So it's been this like 10-year journey, basically.
Love that.
Can you
of coming to
explain
this
that?
place.
Can you explain somatic, like kind of, you know, because there's a lot of different types. Maybe explain specifically what you do, because a lot of people are just, that's kind of like a new thing that's kind of emerging a lot, I feel like, and there's a lot of people that don't actually, like listeners that might not know what that means.
What it means.
Great question. Yeah. So, in my perspective, somatic embodiment is this process of unraveling the disconnection between our spirit, our mind, and our body. So, a lot of people are kind of disconnected from their body because of trauma that they've experienced, or even like past life stuff, for example. And then somatic embodiment works to kind of open up the layers so you can actually see what's going on. So clarity is a big piece of somatic embodiment healing, just like what is actually keeping me from living the life that I desire on a nervous system level, and then doing the work to heal that in a really like practical way to connect ourselves in all parts of ourselves so that we're kind of functioning on all levels again, and we can actually take steps to have the lives that we want without anything else getting in the way. I don't know.
I think that's so
but,
important to talk about, because it's something that I try to bring into almost all of my breath work, because breath work is somatic, you know, it's like that same healing practice, is that sometimes our subconscious or these behaviors or these traumas that we're not even aware of, we're not aware of how they're affecting us. So people are just operating at this level and not realizing the things that are, you know, holding them back are their own subconscious beliefs that are dictating our paths. And unless you do this kind of work, you're the only one that's going to know what that is. You kind of need a guide. You need somebody to kind of guide you to that space to be able to have that own inner awareness, because I can't tell you what yours are, and you can't tell, like, we have to do it ourselves. But sometimes we need a guide to just be like, hey, like, we're gonna connect, we're gonna breathe, we're gonna get you in your body.
Totally. I totally agree. I think breath work is one of like the key tools to kind of unveil all of that stuff and show us all of these processes and experiences we've had in life, whether it's this life or past lives, or if you believe in that or whatever.
Seriously.
And breath work just takes you there like that. So I love that.
It's definitely been one of the most like transformative modalities that I've come across. Truly.
Yeah.
But there's also, you know, it is a hard thing. So sometimes making like a gentle, soft So what are some of the practices that you use in your specific practice? Like, is it movement?
Yeah.
Is it meditation? Like, what is your like go-to
Niche.
process for?
Yeah. Well, I have different processes for different types of traumatic experiences or
Okay.
different types of healing that someone is desiring. So, generally, what I'm trying to help someone do is find the pieces within themselves that are resistant to their dream life or their dream relationship, and then getting curious, getting clear on what that piece is doing. Usually it's like this piece, it's like a tension in my heart, and you dive into it. You hear, for example, this is something that's protecting me because of what happened to me as a child. It's keeping people away from me, it's keeping me safe. So then we kind of empower a different part of the body that is actually more empowered, and this is like the body, so it's not just the physical body, it's like the energy body too. So if you have like an inner divine feminine who can kind of wrap that piece of you in warmth, love, all of the things that this piece is actually desiring, and can kind of take the reins instead of empowering this traumatized piece of you. You're saying, hey, you can go back to being like the beautiful, loving, open you that you were before you were traumatized, and this divine feminine is going to make sure you're protected and is going to take the steps to make sure that you're not hurt again, so you can kind of just go back to doing what you were originally made for. And so it's a lot of parts work. So if I had to like define that in one phrase, it would be like parts work, internal family systems, and like,
IFS.
Yeah. My mom's doing IFS right now with Jessica, and she's
cool.
absolutely loving it.
And
Yeah,
that's like
yeah,
I did a piece of that tonight in breathwork. Once we had the release, I said there's a part of you right now that maybe it's a bad relationship that you stayed in too long, or a job or a career or something as a child, and I want you to look at that part of you in your life, like that, whatever age you were at, whether you were a teenager or a child, and I want you to call it forward and look at him or her right now in front of you and say I love you and say I forgive you and I'm sorry and it's time to come home. Because that's like, we shun or shame these different pieces and parts of us. And how can we ever feel whole and connected if there's a time in our life or a choice that we made that we just cannot forgive ourselves for? And then we create all that chaos around it because we're trying to protect it or can't accept it.
Yeah, that's so potent. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, inner child work. I have a teacher who, I'm paraphrasing, but he said the only power that is greater than the power of just our human being, our capacity as a human being, is shame. So shame is like the only thing that can take us out of our power, to the point where people can like just not continue their lives anymore because there's so much shame, and each layer of shame creates this another layer of separation from our truth. So it's very nuanced and convoluted sometimes.
And shame is a program belief. Like, it's not in like our human makeup to feel shame. Shame is something that we've been programmed to experience. It's not even like, it's like shame, guilt, blame, all of that, instead of looking at it as, we're humans. We came here to learn these lessons. Like, we came here to make mistakes. We came here to learn the human experience. Like, and the human experience is fucking painful. And that's what we have to like, and the more you, and I'm sure you're similar, the more you do this work and the more people you meet around the way, like, everyone's fucked up. Everyone has a past. Everyone has
pain.
Darkness. Everyone has pain. And it's like, we're not alone. And I think that what shame does is creates that inner aloneness. Like,
yeah, totally. I think a lot of it too boils down to the way we were parented. Like, a lot of my work is about reparenting as well. And it's like, what happens when you like accidentally spill something when you're a child? Your mom kind of most of our moms perhaps freaked out, or like, why would you do that? How could you do something like that? So it's like this constant program that's been passed down for generations. And you're right, it's not a capital T truth of what it is to be a human. It's this weird insertion program that's been like keeping us from our power for a really long time. And now beautifully we're all doing this work to unravel that and release that. So I think it's a really exciting time in that sense.
That's well, only 5% of us are doing the work. There's so many people so unwilling and so caught and stuck in the grips of their own shame and guilt that they just, or judgment, right? Like, you know, stepping out of comfort zones is really hard, right?
Totally.
Stepping out of the norm, for sure.
Yeah. And it has to start somewhere. So like the 5%, we're kind
the
of
ripple effect.
We're shining massive. And making these changes in just our immediate circle, which then spreads and spreads. So
absolutely,
got to start somewhere.
I agree. The ripple effect is definitely massive. And it's so funny you like brought up the spilt drink thing, because that's actually a program, like that's a belief that like I have been trying to break. And I notice these things, right, especially as a mom to toddlers, messes like they like trigger me, or I'm like, you know, now my son will spill something and he'll immediately look at me to like check my reaction, and he'll be like, it was just an accident, mom, right? It was just an accident. I'm like, it was just an accident. But like before, I think some part of me would be like boiling inside, like, oh my God, there's milk everywhere. Like, oh my God, like there's shit everywhere. And now I'm just like, I'm learning, especially as a mom, to pause before I react, because I'm very reactive. Yeah. And toddlers are very reactive as well, and they do crazy shit. I swear to God, it tests me and trigger me all day.
I know.
But lately I've just been like, pause. Like I have to continuously learn how to regulate my own emotions and break a lot of these cycles so I don't pass them down to my kids.
And that's it. It's nobody has regulated nervous systems, or nobody has emotional maturity, because we all like as growing up, it was like, don't feel that, go to your room, go alone, you want to cry, go cry alone in your room. Like nobody taught us how to feel, so we're all just walking around unregulated, and then somehow we're supposed to parent these kids that we're supposed to teach them how to regulate their nervous system, but we don't even know how to do it ourselves.
Totally. I was just talking about that with my husband. We have 3 kids, and I was like, it's almost like a crime, because there is this program currently, especially of like conscious parenting and like, don't traumatize your children and be the regulated one. But no one is really like teaching parents tools. It's like another layer of escapism or masking what's actually going on. And it's like, I want to be beautiful and like peaceful and grounded with my children. But if I have this like deep rage because every time I spilled a glass of milk, my mom screamed at me, like, how do I know what to do with that? You know, it's
just not getting so obsessed with the idea that you have to be so perfect as a parent, and that if you make mistakes, your kids are going to be fucked up forever. I think that's kind of the guilt I feel. Like if we have one bad day and I raised my voice like way more than I like to, it's like I go to bed crying because I'm like, am I giving my kids trauma? Like what the fuck? Like, you know, you never want that. But also I think it's such a good reminder to just be like, no, we have to start giving ourselves grace and know that we're not perfect. Again, we're human. We're here to learn lessons, and these things happen. And as long as we apologize, right? That's like the number one thing too I've been learning through my kids, is like, all they want is like some type of recognition and apology. If I fuck up, all my son wants is for me to like get down on his level and be like, I'm really sorry that I just got so upset. Like, it's not a big deal. Let's move on from it. I love you. Like, let's hug it out, you know, and get over it.
Yeah.
And that's all they need. They literally just need like a little reassurance that like, I saw this, I forget, did you send it to me? Or maybe Dill sent it to me. He sent me this TikTok, and it was like, when you're mad at your kids, the way you treat your kids doesn't affect how they think you love them. It affects how they love themselves. So like, they are going to love you no matter what. You're their parents, you know, they're going to love you no matter what. But the way that you treat them is how they internalize that. And then that's how they treat themselves. So I was just like, woof, like light bulb moment. Holy shit. Like, it's so true. we really have to be mindful of that.
Totally. Yeah, I agree. And you have such beautiful perspective. I feel like not many parents have that sort of perspective with their kids and like try as hard, or like it's this such a fine line to walk of like not guilting yourself too much and like not caring enough. It's like really an interesting weaving that's happening as a parent. Yeah.
I know. And conscious parenting is hard, and
it's so
parenting is hard. And some days, just like anything else, you make mistakes. And it's the thing about the shame, right? It's like, oh, I could have done, and then you carry your own shame because you're like, or if you like, my oldest son is 12, and I didn't have this awareness when he was a toddler, so like I was still dysregulated and like not not having these tools. So now I'm like, oh man, like I wasn't able to like give him the same experience. But I say it all the time, like we have to just trust that like everything in this universe is happening for you and not to you, and it happened for him that way for a very important reason. And when we really fully believe that and just do your best, right? It's like the 4 agreements. When we just really do our best, that's all you can do sometimes.
Totally. Yeah, I agree. I feel like some children need the dichotomy between like hearing your parents scream versus seeing your parent just like in a bubble of peace or whatever. It's like, all of this is human, and like I'm learning how to navigate this too. And like 12 years ago, none of us were regulated. So we're all kind of like taking it one step at a time. And the world is going to be so different for these children when they're adults. And just being able to navigate all the different kind of emotional experiences that are human experiences, I think is a really important thing, whether you were conscious 12 years ago, or, I mean, I wasn't for sure. So like, I'm in the same boat.
Like, wait a minute. Oops, sorry. Still love you the same. It's not a different love. It's just like I had to learn, right?
Yeah, totally.
I'm curious, just because we, our thing is like not to do surface level, and anybody that gets into this level of work has their own pain, right? We all turn our pain into purpose and into power. So was there something that you think that happened to you specifically that really made you shift into this new awareness, if you feel comfortable, right? Obviously, because it's intimate, but we really like to have a deep understanding, right? And kind of helps people understand that they're not alone. It's like similar situations.
Totally. Yeah. I love sharing. I'm an oversharer, so I'm down to go there. But but hence the podcast. But yeah, I had been doing a lot of spiritual work for what felt like a really long time and making a lot of really deep progress. And I was feeling like really good about where I was. And then COVID happened, and I was a midwife. I was training to be a midwife at that time. And I went to this initial session or initial like consult with a potential client of the woman who I was learning under. And this is like probably like 70 something year old man who was like a meditation teacher, and like a 20 something year old wife who was pregnant with their second child. And it triggered the fuck out of me. And I was like having this whole like experience, this whole struggle of like, I am my midwife's student, so I'm just in her world and I'm doing what she needs me to do. But I have this like really strong feeling about this partnership. And it was because of my own past. My grandfather sexually abused my sister when we were younger and living with them. And I felt like I needed to carry the anger for that experience, because the rest of my family kind of just went about like
swept under the rug.
Everything became back to normal, and like they were going on vacation and visiting him and like all this kind of stuff that was like I was the one in my family who had to carry that flame, which led to a lot of anger and rage and sadness. And it was just this one experience kind of expression of that, in this awareness that I needed to process that. So, well, actually that woman could feel it. The woman was pregnant. She could feel my energy, and she asked me to not be at their birth, which to me, I was like so ashamed of myself because I tried to do such a good job of like
and keep
keeping
it
my shit together.
professional. Yeah.
Yeah. And she could totally sense, she was pregnant. The veils are thin anyway. And she could totally sense it. And she was like, yeah, she's not going to be at my birth. And I was like feeling like I was letting my preceptor, the woman who I was studying with, down. And so I really dove in at that time. And I just, my whole ego and my whole way of identifying myself kind of just had to completely fall apart. And then I had to kind of put the pieces back together using like these frameworks that I use with my clients, and experience an even deeper level of healing and integration and wholeness than I like ever thought was possible. So yeah, that's kind of like my background in terms of like the big trauma piece that I'm still to this day working through in different ways. So
Yeah,
it's forever. That's what people need to realize. There is no solution, and we will be healing forever because life is going to continue to happen, and you're going to be continue to be triggered and continue to have these experiences
new awarenesses.
Life.
Yeah, totally. I was having a session with one of my acquaintances. We were kind of swapping sessions, and she was guiding me through this visualization, and I was like, oh my God, there's still a piece here that is from that experience that I can feel still in my body, that is keeping me from the type of relationship that I actually really want with my husband. And like, I have the most beautiful, like deeply intimate, like clear, passionate relationship with my husband.
I want to hear about
for
this.
A really long time.
Yeah, I want to hear about this. This is what I'm most excited to hear about.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, after like a whole fucking 38 years, sorry for cussing, but 38 years of like working on this kind of trauma piece, it's still here, in a different way than I ever would have anticipated. So yeah.
As in like throat chakra, like being blocked. Is that what you're meaning? Like when you're pointing at your throat?
Yeah, it was like I did this visualization and I saw this like gray room of like gooey, like thick stuckiness in my own throat. Wow. And it was this piece that was like protecting me in some way from expressing myself truly and having this like deeper, intimate acceptance and understanding
connection
with my partner.
Yeah, wow.
Well, that's what people don't understand. When they put up walls, and the walls are there to protect us from the bad feelings. But when you put up a wall, it protects you from the good feelings too. You can't experience, like if the wall is up, the wall is protecting you from bad, everything, but also good. And until that wall comes down, like you can't fully embody the love and the feelings, right? Because the wall's there. The wall's there. The wall doesn't know if it's good or bad. The wall is just there. Totally. It's up. You put it there.
And also on like a total primal brain level, I just read this the other day. Your primal brain doesn't really know the difference between your childhood care provider and your partner. So it's like protecting you from the energy. Yeah. So this person who's in your life now as a care provider of someone who you collaborate with in that way, your primal brain visual language almost kind of senses that as the caregiver. So it's like they're the same in your primal brain in some ways, at least.
Wow, that's so interesting.
That's why a lot of us kind of marry our partner, or our partner is like, oh my God, you're turning out to be exactly like my dad or my mom. It's like, because your primal brain is the one who's guiding similar to that person.
Wow.
Yeah.
We want to know about your deep intimacy with your husband and that like whole process too, because I was looking at your Instagram and I like love like your guys' energy together.
The content, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So do you want to just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, because I feel like we had like my husband on last week who was like all the nitty gritty of our intimacy and all the struggles that I have with letting these walls down and opening myself. Right. So I mean, we got so much feedback and such like the most beautiful messages about that. So maybe now we're here and we're switching the script. So maybe let's talk about some practices, or maybe like some tips and pointers that you could give us, or how you got into the relationship part of somatic healing and that work.
And you can share a little bit of how healing it was for you and Jill, because you guys went home and
whatever.
I prayed for it.
Yay.
You did.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
It's been getting a lot better, and I feel like it's because I'm like slowly letting my walls down, and like my daily affirmation right now is like, I am soft, I am open, I am loved, and I am loving, because I can be so like, I save all my playtime for my friends, but then as soon as my husband walks through the door, I feel the need to like flip this switch of like, mom, wife, gotta get shit done, don't fuck around with me, like don't, like this isn't playtime, like I can't explain it, it's so weird, but I'm slowly learning to just chop each of those layers down and really just allow myself to be loved the way I know I deserve. And I think it really just boils down to like this feeling of not feeling worth it, or it's definitely self-worth, self-love related for sure.
Totally. Yeah. And that's a big piece for so many of us. So I feel like it's this collective thing that we're all working on together. So thank you for like doing that work, not only for your own family and yourself, but for all of us too. I feel like it's so important. But yeah, intimacy with my partner in specifically, he was doing men's work with an organization known as Sacred Sons.
Love
so I do too. They changed my relationship so much in so many beautiful ways. Adam Jackson, I love you.
Oh my God, could we have your husband on the podcast to talk about Sacred Sons? Would he be willing?
Oh my God. Yeah.
We want more men.
Is he trained by them to like facilitate or?
Yeah, he does more of their Sons Youth work, which is the younger men, which I think is really, really important.
That's incredible. I didn't know they had a youth program.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's so powerful and magical to like hear the stories. And he never tells me any specifics because it's like confidential, which I really respect, but like just the stories in general of how these young men are kind of having an example from maybe the first time that then they've ever had in their life, of what it means to like be a man and be in your power and not distracted by all of these things that society kind of gives us in order to distract us, especially the masculine, of like porn and like being on your phone all the time and like ghosting women and like, video games and
the dating world
toxic
nowadays.
The toxic masculinity to the masculinity of being like soft and like balanced with your feminine, and knowing that masculinity is actually about safety and protection and like, so I love that. And what great, like that's when they need to learn it so they don't have to go through all the pain of their 20s of using women and using those, using sex as a power tool of like this give and take. And and I say this was the biggest lesson that I've learned through my new relationship is this is the first relationship where sex hasn't been a tool
or transaction,
like a transaction, because I've always felt like a tool, or like through all of that, or using sex as a tool, like I'm gonna give you this because I want something, right? And having this actual healthy relationship of just being able to having sex to connect and be one with each other, and that's it.
It's such a paradigm shift, and it says a lot to the amount of work that you've done and the amount of work that your partner seems to have done, that it's not like that, and that it is beautiful, and it's this deepening of intimacy in a way that you've never experienced before. And I think that's really amazing. So I'm celebrating that for you. Because not everyone has that, it's really rare to have a partner who wants to go there with you.
And who is supportive of all the ups and downs through the healing process and still sticks around. I think it just says a lot about their character for sure. So your husband did Sacred Sons, and then he kind of introduced the intimacy part to you in a way, or?
We kind of have been doing the intimacy piece together. We both are interested in like Tantra as a spiritual pathway. And there's a lot of misconceptions about Tantra being about like orgies and like sex positions and stuff. But the traditional teaching is as a spiritual pathway, because I'm sure, as you can feel, like sexuality and intimacy is one of like the fastest super highways to connect with oneness and with God. And if it's done in a way that's in alignment with like our truth. So yeah, we kind of have been doing a lot of relationship exploration and working with each other a lot on developing our, I mean, we've been together for 14 years now. So like conscious communication, emotional intelligence, nonviolent communication, and like doing parts work with each other and honoring each other's inner children, and basically creating like, I think, and this is what we kind of just started working with couples together. So he brings in the men's work and I bring in the somatic embodiment and like the feminine side of things, but creating an entity that's its own unique relationship entity. So you have two human beings that are in a relationship, and then it's kind of like creating a field, which is its own entity of the relationship. Wow. So it's putting the value of that relationship entity above the value of like each individual really like only looking out for themselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I think we have this program, which is, I don't think necessarily our human nature, maybe for some people it is, but of looking out for ourselves first and foremost. And like when you bring two people, sorry if you can hear something, that's my child.
It's okay.
But my husband
We get it.
We get it.
So yeah, if you bring two individuals into a relationship and they're only concerned with getting their own needs met, that causes a lot of disruption and grief in the relationship, because we feel like there's a big piece missing, right? We can kind of feel like relationships are draining or like we're losing ourselves. But if both people together can agree to kind of create this safety, this like matrix almost within the confines of the relationship, and you can agree on your core values of like, I want to feel love, I want to feel safe, I want to feel respect, I want to feel acceptance no matter what comes out of my mouth. If you can kind of view the relationship as its own entity and you're creating this bubble of safety with your core values as the foundation, then I think it really can help evolve your relationship and all layers of it, like intimacy, sexuality, communication, clarity, can help evolve all parts of it collectively as its own unit, instead of each person being like, well, I have to work on myself only, and I have to work on myself only. Yes, that's important, but like creating this shared energy matrix of the relationship is also very important, I think.
And that's with any relationship, and I think people need to understand that more too, like with friendships, like, you know, like, or intimate relationships, all of it, they're work, you know, like, you're working on yourself, but if you want to have deep connected friendships that are gonna like hold you accountable and have clear communication and you know be vulnerable in those, it's work. Like it's not just gonna happen. You have to communicate. We piss each other off, like, and we're able to, you know, communicate. Or, you know, last year when I was going through my divorce, it was a lot. Like I put her and her, like her husband and all that through a lot. And eventually it came to a point where she had to set a boundary with me, and she's not great at boundaries, but, and so now I know my life is a lot, and I know that I always have a lot going on. So when I call her, I'm like, hey, do you have the space to hold for me right now? Like, are you in a place where you can hear me and like interpret, you know? And sometimes we don't realize that because we're just like, you're our friend, so I'm gonna trauma dump on you, you know, and just expect you to like, you know, no matter what's going on in your life, you could have had a hard day with your kids or your own shit's going on, like to have that awareness to be like, okay, I know this is a lot. And in relationships too, right? Like you come home from a hard day at work and, you know, maybe your significant other also had a hard day at work and you expect them to be there for you, but without even asking them, you know, if they had a hard day. And it's like the simple question of like, are you able to take this load on right now?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. That's such an evolved perspective. And I think a lot of people are missing that piece of like consent and how safe it is to have that just base foundation of consent in friendship or in relationship. And And yeah, like you're speaking of, coming home from work and you don't know what's happening. Another big piece that I feel is really transformational for my own personal relationship and what we help guide other people through is like creating almost like a little ritual for reunions and for leaving. You know how you would do for your child, you like tuck them into bed at night, you read them a story or whatever you end up doing for their bedtime. It's because you're leaving them and that you're creating this safety for them. So doing the same thing in our adult relationships of like, every time we leave each other, we're going to make a point to like eye gaze for like 60 seconds and like take one breath with each other and tell each other, I love you. And then every time we come back home from work, the first thing we do, meet each other, create this like frequency of consent and safety and like love with each other first, and then we can kind of expand into the evening from that place. And that kind of like sets the stage for consent or really seeing your partner before you kind of dive into like trauma dumping or whatever whatever
so my therapist
you call it.
My therapist had a really good point too. She said when me and Dill were going through all these things last year, and me going through EMDR and kind of healing all the sexual trauma and like, just not really seeing a lot of each other because you work so much. She was like, you have to create routines together, like something in the morning. So we're waking up together and we're doing something in the morning together without our kids that are still sleeping, so that when he comes home at night, it's not the first time I'm seeing him. Because before, like, I'm not a morning person. I would sleep and he would go to work and I wouldn't wake up until my kids would wake up, which we know is late. Like my kids wake up late. So we didn't have that morning connection. And so my day's chaos all day with my kids and his day's chaos all day with his kids. I mean, with his work. So when he comes home, it's like we're coming at each other like this instead of already having that connection from the morning. So we noticed that is a significant difference in our day to day when we do something together in the morning than when we're just like first seeing each other for the first time in the afternoon. Like if I decide to sleep in, it's such a different energy and vibe. I can't even explain it.
Totally. Yeah. And it's crazy, isn't it? Like we are adults, but we're having to like teach ourselves how to be adults in adult relationships because we had no example. Like we had no example of that. So it's like finding the tools and the rituals and the routines that work for our individual relationship and kind of incorporating those and learning how to care for ourselves in a way that like was never kind of shown as an example for us from the couples in our life when we were children. So yeah, that's beautiful. I'm glad that you guys have that.
Yeah, it's definitely a game changer. I mean, we could definitely be more consistent with it, but it's
progress, not perfection.
Exactly. Progress, again, giving grace when grace is due.
So and it's hard work. Like people need to realize too, it's like
marriage is work. That's what I tell everyone. Like I don't think marriage is meant to be easy. I think marriage is marriage for a reason, and like people decide whether they're gonna put in the work or they're gonna not. And so I just it's a lot. Like it's a lot. Like it's a lot easier, I feel like, to just throw in the towel, to be like, nope, like I'm good. Like, parts of me sometimes are just like, nope, I don't want to go there today. But again, I'm like learning slowly to drop these walls and soften. And like, this is the person I chose to have children with. This is the person like I married. Like I'm gonna do my fucking best to like be the best versions of ourselves for each other.
And on the other side of that, if you do decide to leave,
and on the other side,
if the other partner is not willing to,
do the
grow or do the work, and don't think that they
don't settle.
Anything wrong with them, and that they don't need to do the work, and the problem is all you. That's a problem.
Then you need to leave.
Yeah, it has to be safe. Obviously, it has to be a safe container for sure.
Yeah. So give us some like exercises. Do you have like exercises you guys do as a couple to bring you guys closer? I know you mentioned tantric. I've done like a couple tantric meditations with my husband, and they are so beautiful and get us so worked up and connected, like on such a beautiful level. So we want to hear all the juicy tips and tricks.
Yeah. So one thing that, well, maybe I can talk about a few different ones, but we have a couple different kind of routines that we do with each other. one of which is kind of just box breathing together. So box breathing, if you don't know, is when you do like inhale for 4, or hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. So it's kind of creating a box with your breath, and we do that kind of with each other. So while he's inhaling, I'm exhaling, if that makes sense. So we're kind of creating this
motion
cycle of energy between the two of us. And that really helps us connect and kind of set the stage for if we're having a discussion, if we're having intimate time. It kind of really connects us in the same time and place, which I think for us is really important because we're both really busy too. We do this thing called, I don't know what it's called, but we hold each other. So neither of us were really kind of cared for as children or infants in the way that we really want to. And so part of our learning experience for us personally is realizing that we can give the primal desire, which is like connection, love, someone seeing us intimately, to each other that we kind of never received as children. So like I'll hold him on like kind of like a like a baby, which sounds weird because he's a big like bearded 38-year-old man, but just holding him on my lap with his head over my heart. And it kind of, we take some breaths in that space, and then I just open it up for him to kind of share whatever he wants to share from that place. And usually he's able to really tap into some inner child piece that wants to be seen. And then we can kind of see that for and with each other. And then we switch places and he holds me. And it's just like a really beautiful healing experience for adults and for our inner children, like in a way that we could never get from anyone else. And we've kind of created the safety within our relationship. And we've kind of made the commitment to give each other what our deepest desires are. And usually that's these like primal wounds of like, my mom just left me in the crib and I cried, and I remember that. And like, no one picked me up and held me. And so it's like planting these seeds that are so nourishing on like a deep soul primal level with each other, for each other, because then we can kind of expand from that place. And then we do breath work together all the time. And
love it.
There's all kinds of different, like holding each other. Like if he would hold me on his lap and we would do breathing together, like belly to belly. So our bellies are inhaling, exhaling together.
That was part of our tantric meditation. It was beautiful.
Yeah, so beautiful. So yeah, there's all kinds of different experiences that you can, and I think a lot of the process, because it can look so different for different couples, but the main thing is to find something that feels nourishing to you, and then doing that with each other, for each other. So if like you can't agree on one thing to do for both as a couple, then doing 2 different things, one for one partner and one for the other, but doing it for each other.
What would you say to someone who has like a fear of intimacy or isn't really good at being intimate with a partner, but they're in a marriage? Like, what would you say? What would be like your first tip to them to kind of be open to the idea to be more intimate or to get more comfortable with intimacy? Would you suggest like the breathing together, getting in that energy field together?
Yeah, well, to me, sometimes that doesn't feel safe for someone to go there if they're not feeling able to open in that way. And they're very protective and they have walls up for a reason. To me, the first step is always clarity, because a lot of times people don't know why they are afraid of intimacy, or they're kind of pushing their partner away or whatever. So we go through like relationship styles or attachment styles. A lot of people talk about attachment styles. So there's like anxious, avoidant, there's all kinds of systems to define the way that you attach to someone else. And generally someone can identify themselves in these different attachment styles. And then you kind of have the awareness of like, oh, I'm afraid of commitment and intimacy because, when I was younger, I never received that from my caregivers, and I had to kind of care for myself and have my own like individual experience, and that was safe. So when I was by myself, I was safe. I didn't have to experience chaotic emotions or whatever that were in my household. So kind of having the clarity and the awareness of why you are feeling that way in the first place is usually like the very first step that I work through with couples or with individuals, because and then you can work on the embodiment pieces of like exploring where in their body they don't feel safe and exploring where in their body they do feel safe, and kind of allowing those places that do feel safe to kind of take the reins for the parts that don't. And then you can have this kind of foundation of safety within your own experience to be able to feel safe to do that with your partner.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
Oh shoot, it just lost me. It was an important one. Dang it. Hate when that happens.
No worries. It'll come back.
Literally
maybe.
just lost me. It will. It'll
It's
circle
also
back.
almost 10 o'clock at night, and
we're exhausted. So wait.
Yeah.
So I think what we were talking about, you know, being intimate and being afraid and all those things. If say, for example, my attachment style was anxious avoidant, what would be something that you would recommend that I like? Is that something that I have to come to terms with on my own? Because like that's exactly what my therapist recommended. We went through all the attachment styles. I knew immediately like I was anxious avoidant, more so avoidant than anxious, just like just avoiding it all. Is that something that I have to kind of tap into on my own? And then what would be like the embodiment practices that we do? And do you offer these things like online for people who are in this area near us?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I do online one-on-one sessions, and my husband and I are starting to do couple sessions with people too.
That.
So couple, like 2-on-2. But for someone who is avoidant or anxious avoidant, a lot of times it's kind of creating this sense of safety within your own experience. So like I said before, kind of finding the pieces that can be empowered to take the reins. Because the way that I like to separate the attachment styles is wave, island, and anchor. So the wave is anxious avoidant, and the island is avoidant, and anchor is just like a securely attached person.
Yeah.
So if you're an island, generally a lot of islands are either obviously with another island because it's easy for two people who are kind of like, I'm going to do my thing and you're going to do your thing, and that
you do your thing.
Yeah.
And then that keeps us together.
Yeah. Or if you are a wave with an island, that is also very common because a lot of times we pair up with people who are similar to our parents. And the reason you're an island perhaps is because your parent was a wave. So you pair up with someone who's a wave because that's just what your nervous system is used to. So if both couples or both people in the couple can find their attachment style, create the safety within their own experience, and start empowering these pieces that are more like anchor pieces, then you can kind of create the anchor frequency in this like entity that is your relationship, that you've kind of created this, okay, there's me, there's you, and then there's the relationship that we're working on together. So you can kind of create this frequency of the anchor within your relationship, which can provide a safe haven for each individual to kind of come back to center, even if they are feeling like an island or a wave, you know?
I love that.
Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
No, it does. It definitely makes sense. I'm definitely very anxious avoidant, and I went straight for someone who was very anxious avoidant. So
yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, that I think there's a lot of positive attributes for people who are anxious avoidant too. Like
tons.
You can get a lot done, you're very self-sufficient. You know, like there's so many positive aspects, and there's definitely a lot of really valid reasons why we grow into these sort of attachment styles. And as an adult, you can now make a choice. That's the whole thing with like somatic embodiment, is like now you're restoring your choice, and you're not operating from subconscious programming and patterns that aren't in alignment with your capital T truth. You get to decide. Once you have the awareness and you do the healing work necessary, you get to decide how you are in your relationship.
Yeah. I love it so much that you keep using the word empowered. And I think that that's just so great, because so many of us have lived so much of our life disempowered. And, you know, like oppression, and especially like with women and ancestral and past life and all that stuff. Like We, especially as women, and men too, men have also been disempowered, because when men step into their power, it's their ego, or they're this or they're that, and we have all these labels and all these identities that we like take on. When we feel empowered, people are like, oh, they're just so cocky, or you know what I mean? And then you have this resistance. You're like, well, I can't show up as an empowered person because these people are going to view me in this way. But feeling that power and owning that power and knowing how powerful we are as human beings is like, everybody should be empowered. Everybody should live from that space of feeling that. So that's really the healing journey. And you know, I don't really love to call anybody a healer, because we really only heal ourselves. There is no, you know, I have no power here. I can't heal her. I can't heal anybody. This is not, you know, it's you. But you need somebody sometimes to really empower you to see that you're the one. Like, you're the one on both sides. You're the one that's holding you back, and you're the one that's going to create the growth in your life. It's you. It's all you.
It's going to heal you and change you.
No one's coming to save you.
Right. I totally agree. And I think it's like what you said earlier. We're kind of like, you know, when you put two clocks next to each other, even if they're moving at different speeds or rates, they end up syncing with each other. So if you have a guide or a healing guide or a friend who is empowered and connected and embodied and safe and secure in their own self, you resonate with them eventually, just like we do with our kids. Like, if we can hold that frequency and be that lighthouse, it doesn't matter what term we use to call ourselves. It's healing for the collective when we can do that work ourselves and just be confident in that empowerment, that self-empowerment. And then it kind of, we don't even have to do anything. It kind of just, people around us start asking questions, or
I know, I love
being
that
curious
so
about
much.
In the mirrors.
Like, what books do you recommend? Yeah, totally.
And that you are, and I love that too, because I think it's so important as you heal. And nobody really talks about it also, is that there's this really lonely period as you heal and you shift this frequency, because you've got to let go. You have to let go to evolve. Like, and to evolve is like letting go, but you know, there's this lonely time, and then the people start coming in, right? Like, involving you have to let go of things. And it's usually people that are holding you back, and sometimes it's your family, and you know, and not like just shutting people out, right? Just having clear boundaries of being like, like, I used to accept this behavior, but like, I'm no longer going to accept the behavior because I am choosing me.
Definitely.
Totally. That's beautiful. A lot of people don't think that when you're saying yes to something, which is like maybe a more aligned life, more of your desires, you have to say no to some things. And there is grieving in that process sometimes, and like you said, loneliness. So it's important to remember both sides of that.
And as you shift through that loneliness, I think it's like all a part of like the, you know, the path, right? It's like, as you feel that deep loneliness, you show yourself the love that you're craving from these people that was toxic, these toxic connections. And then as you grow, because you love yourself, you shed that shit. You literally, you know, and through that process, you feel the love in yourself. And then as that love shines through you, the people, you know, the people that are attracted to the light are going to come and find you. And then they're mirrors of you. And you're like, oh my God, this is how life is supposed to be. It's supposed to be.
This is how relationships, friendships, people, this is how it's supposed to be.
This is
it.
And then in that ability too, those people that you let go of might choose a different path to meet you there. They might not.
Totally.
They might not. But you could.
Like, don't get your hopes up, but also halfway get your hopes up. I totally feel that. And that's a beautiful way of describing it. Totally. Just, I think there's a part of us as humans that just doesn't know what's possible, or doesn't believe that it's possible for us. And it's podcasts like this where you're like so bright, you're shining, it's palpable, the love and the admiration you two feel for each other and the friendship that you guys have. And then you're sharing that, like, you are the lighthouses. And I feel like sharing that choice and that ability and that path and that like beauty with with the world is so important, because like we have been talking about, like no one really knows that it's possible for them unless they see it in front of their face or in their ear pods.
Yeah, this is exactly why we started this. We were craving community so bad. We knew we needed it, so we knew others definitely needed it. And
it's just not, and to hear that you're not alone from all the different paths, and that there's so many different healing modalities. Because I think people think, oh, I gotta go to talk therapy because that's all we've ever had, and I gotta sit down and I gotta talk about my problems, and then next week I'm gonna go and I'm gonna talk about my problems, and then it's just this vicious cycle, and nobody actually gets better because you're not actually doing like work. It's just, and maybe that works for some people, and I love that. And you know, like there's no judgment, like but also there's all these deeper other different pathways, and it may not be deeper because some people go really deep in talk therapy. They can get that I feel experience. Like you don't have like the energetic release that you would have with a somatic practice just by talking. Maybe like getting it out and venting, but a different type of release, sort of say. I think.
Yeah, different strokes. But just really quickly, the native people in this area, native people in like a lot of different areas, but they use the medicine wheel, and it's just a circle that has a cross in the middle of it, and they say it has to be balanced. So in the north there's like the intuitive and the spirit connection, in the south is the physical, in the east is the mental, in the west is the emotional. So if you're kind of in this east-west pathway of like talking about how you feel and feeling into how you think, and like that's all you're experiencing, you're missing out on like some points that could help you feel more balanced, which is the spiritual aspect, which I think is part of just who we are as humans, and then the physical aspect, which is like the somatic piece of like feeling actually into your body and just kind of discovering where your sensations are in that way.
Yeah. You gotta feel it to heal it.
Feel it to heal it. Feel it to heal it, baby.
Yeah, totally.
It's so true. So if there's one thing that you want our listeners to take away from this, we would love to hear it. And also all the types of practices that you do. I will link your page. I will tag you, all of the things, so people can reach out. So any type of little life insight from you that we could give to our listeners.
Yeah, thank you. That's a really great prompt. And the thing that I really try to convey is that we're all walking each other home. So it's this idea of like shining as lighthouses for each other. So, you know, regardless of what each individual person feels like they're feeling, or like how shitty they think they are or how great they think they are, we're all affecting each other, and we're all needed exactly where we are in this exact moment, feeling exactly what we're feeling. Like it's all perfect, because it's not only the perfect experience for us, but also helping the people around us just from seeing us or witnessing us or experiencing us. So I really like kind of the expansion or the perspective shift of like, oh, it's not only about me. It's not like, it is really important to consider my experience, especially if I'm like being abused or traumatized or having a really challenging time. That is totally valid and definitely something to focus on. And there's this bigger perspective of like, we're all doing this together. It's not just about our own unique experience. It's how we affect the people in our lives, how we share with our friends, how we treat our children. It's all building to something that's this like really beautiful future that we're all picturing as possible. So I think that would be my closing thought.
I love that so much. It's so true. It's not just about us, it's about all of us together collectively.
Well, that was my card tonight with Ganesha on it after breathwork, and it was like shifting out of mine to it's God's. You know, having that shift that it's not just about me, it's about everything and all everyone and all of it. And we just get to let go of that.
Yeah. And I think people kind of can sometimes be afraid of like the ego death that is that experience of releasing this identity with self. But it's taking on, like you said, it's taking on this grander identity of God's. It's like, I am a channel for the divine. It's not about me. It's about being a channel for the divine to myself and to the people around me. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I think
and
there can be some
anybody has the ability to be a vessel for the divine.
Yes.
I think that's the separation too, is that people are like, oh my God, like you are capable of doing all these things. It's like, yes, same. I was a homeless heroin addict shooting heroin, living on a park bench 13 years ago. Like, literally, like, could not stop doing drugs, you know, like,
if you
for
tried.
nothing or nobody.
Yeah.
And it's like, so it really doesn't matter. You can carry all this shame, you could carry all this doubt in yourself, but you empower yourself. Like, any human being on this planet is connected to the divine, and you have the ability to be the vessel, and you already are the vessel. You already are, you're doing it. Everyone's doing it. And if you just open yourself up to the belief that you have the ability to call it in, empower yourself, empower others, that's all that this is about.
Yeah, totally. Yes. Yeah.
Like there's no separation. Like God, like the universe doesn't like pick and choose. Like the universe doesn't pick and choose like who gets to be a part of this, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Any single human being listening, if you're listening out there, you have the ability to tap into the divine.
You are a magical bitch. We're all magical bitches.
Even the men, you're magical bitches too.
Magical bitches, all of us.
Yeah,
we really are.
Totally.
You just have to continue to seek the magic out of life, for sure.
And be open.
Yeah, totally.
And give.
We're all from the same place. Yeah.
Beautiful. This was so beautiful. I love connecting with people from all over. We feel so honored that you wanted to come on and share your secrets, share your intimate details with us. I can't wait to get this out.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, this was beautiful. I can't wait to get this out. I honestly am kind of down to work with you. Like, I'm gonna go home and tell my husband all about this, and maybe we can do like a little couple session. That would be so cool.
I'd love that. I'd be so honored. Yeah. Thank you so much.
We'll definitely connect more.
It's been a huge pleasure for me to kind of just bask in the glowiness that is you two together and share and learn more about you in this way. And I would be so honored if you wanted to work together. I'd love that.
Absolutely.
So down for it.
And tell your husband he's next.
Yeah.
We would love to have him.
We've been trying to open it to men. This is the season where we want to hear men's stories, because our thing right now is like men need healing too. Men are human too. Like men need healing too. Last season it was all about women's stories. Now we want more men's stories, like men coming in.
Yeah. So needed. And thank you for providing a platform for that, because it's so important.
Yeah, so important, for sure.
Yeah.
Yay. Well, we end how we start.
One hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. Expel all the energy out. Inhale in through the nose. And exhale, just let that shit go. So good. As always, we love you all, and we thank you, and we're so grateful that you listen, and
see you next week. Bye.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was so nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen to what we have to say. It means the world. As always, we want to end this episode by reminding you that we are not medical professionals and we are not giving any type of medical advice. We are simply sharing our experience and solutions.
We are here with the intentions of reminding you that you are never alone and that everyone's healing journey is unique to the individual. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms to stay updated. Stay well, Sacred Rebels. See you next time.